What caught my eye was the greeting at the end of the invitation. Let's make it happen. It was an invite to attend Isha Fest, forwarded by the owner of the flat where I had stayed 6 years ago in Coimbatore. Could it have something to do with the radiant sage-like yoga teacher who I did the yoga program with? I wondered. Because the words reminded me of a paper board hanging in that class that said, "A world full of love, light, and laughter. Its time has come. Let us make it happen." Since I had really liked this combination of love, light, and laughter, the phrase had stayed with me. Seeing it again, my mind started to spin out the memories of that extraordinary class I did in 1990 in Coimbatore. It was a totally new experience for me. The gentle instrumental music, the kind I had never heard before. The yoga teacher, Sadhguru from Mysore, whom reminded me of the sage Manikkavasagar from the times of the Pandya dynasty. I remember during the games on the initiation day, once I had come face to face with Sadhguru, really close. He had a radiance I had never seen, and again I felt that he was not an ordinary person. It was the same feeling that I had about Sadhguru when he had first entered the hall for the class. I didn't even know the concept of volunteering at the time. The intensity of the photo of Sadhguru Shri Brahma that I saw during the meditators get together with Sadhguru, and afterwards, how I couldn't speak for the rest of the evening. Despite these experiences, shortly after the program, I was transferred to Madurai and later to Chennai. I got busy with my life and I dropped my practices somewhere along the way. I come from a village and was a first generation graduate and a government servant. My father owned some land, but he wouldn't bother to earn more than what was required for food and clothing for us. He was content and joyous and did daily pujas for the lingas and Ganpati idols in his puja room. Getting my two brothers married and having them settled suitably was important for us at the time. So those past 6 years had gone in stabilizing the financial situation of my family. But now, when I saw the invitation to Isha Fest, everything came back alive within me. Here, I was longing for that contact again. I wasn't sure if the connection between Isha Fest and Sadhguru's class was really there. I took the chance and found my way to the ashram on September 23rd, 1996 for the first time. The atmosphere was so vibrant, everyone was joyous and bubbling with energy. I simply enjoyed being there. After some time, I started to go look for Sadhguru and I found him standing near the Shivali tree talking to a few people. I saw him coming towards my direction after a while. I didn't know how to greet this sage, so I decided to prostrate in front of him to pay my homage. As I was bending down to touch his feet, my eyes made a contact with Sadhguru's eyes when he wasn't even looking at me. What happened to me then is beyond words. At a loss for words, I can only say I found those eyes overflowing with grace and compassion, as if it had engulfed the entire creation. Suddenly, something broke within me, and I experienced unbounded ecstasy within. Oblivious to the surroundings, I started to cry. I cried for maybe an hour. I felt like one who had gotten lost and separated from his family and now found his way back. I was back home. Before leaving, I found out that there were classes happening in Chennai also. Those days, my family was looking for a girl for me. I didn't have any particular desire to get married, but it had seemed like a normal thing to do at a certain age. However, after this episode at the ashram, my desire to get married naturally fell off. In April of 1997, I was back in the ashram for the Bhava Spandana program, but I had no record to prove that I had done the prerequisite Isha Yoga class in 1990. They wouldn't allow me to do BSP, but there were still 2 more days to go till the BSP. I didn't budge from the ashram and started doing the preparatory homework also. After much insistence, I was allowed in the BSP just a few moments before it started. BSP was the turning point. In each session, I became more and more joyful, more and more energetic, more and more ecstatic, and more exuberant. At one point, when I came out of the hall, unable to bear the ecstasy, I simply collapsed without any sense of body. It was very clear to me that my worldly life was over. Later, back in the office in Chennai, for 2 months I couldn't work. I would simply stare off at something, either feeling empty within or overflowing with the ecstasy. I am doing yoga. I said, whenever my colleagues wondered about my state of being. After 2 months, I came back to my normal self, but was left with an intense longing to be part of whatever Sadhguru is. I took 13 days of leave and volunteered for all the 3 sessions of an Isha Yoga program that was happening in Chennai. It was a hot summer day and the sun was bright shining. At around 4:30 pm, Sadhguru took the Bramacharis inside a room near the sanctum for a process. They were inside for maybe an hour. 10 minutes before Sadhguru came out, it started to rain out of nowhere. Later in the night satsang, the local panchayat president shared, I asked for rain from the Guru because we are suffering with no rain, and it rained today itself. He was full of gratitude towards Sadhguru. In Kadapa, Sadhguru also talked about creating Dhyanalinga. From what and how Sadhguru spoke about it, I knew that it would be an enormous gift to humanity. And my heart was overwhelmed with the desire to be at least a tiny part of it. No going back to office anymore, I thought after coming back from Kadapa. I went back again to the ashram to become a full-time volunteer. I was treated well and given a few chores to finish as volunteering. However, you can't stay here for more than 3 days without the permission of Sadhguru, Swami Nischala said on the 4th day. Where to find Sadhguru? He didn't tell me. And so I was back in Chennai. Luckily, as soon as I was back, Sadhguru came to Chennai to give a class. I got an appointment to meet Sadhguru on the day after initiation. My appointment was at 11 am. That morning as I got up, I was suddenly reminded again of the story of the saint Manikkavasagar. In that story, Manikkavasagar, who is the chief minister in the court of one of the Pandya kings, goes to buy Arabian horses upon the king's order. However, on the way he encounters Shiva in the form of a guru to make Manikkavasagar a part of himself, and his life was transformed. I had a strong feeling that something similar would happen to me that day. I should offer Shiva's favorite flowers to Sadhguru today. I further contemplated. At 7:30 am, there I was, out hunting for around 5 types of flowers and leaves that Shiva likes. I found 3 in the backyard of our next house, wrapped them in a wet towel, and went to a Shiva temple far off hoping to find Vilva, another type of flower that Shiva likes. Actually, I found both Vilva and Nagalinga near that temple. By the time I finished collecting the flowers and reached the place I was to meet Sadhguru, it was time for me to go in. After entering the room Sadhguru was sitting in, I sat in Vajrasan, opened the towel and offered the flowers at his feet. Instinctively, with those 5 flowers, I offered whatever I thought of as myself too, totally at his feet. I felt I was waiting for this moment for lifetimes. Suddenly, everything within my being became still, and I simply sat there looking at his feet. Tears were overflowing. 2 to 3 minutes passed like this. It was like my being was being pulled towards his feet. I saw nothing else those few moments but his feet. Let's talk, Sadhguru said a few minutes later and shook his feet. I felt his feet shaking within me. I didn't know what to say. I was empty of words and everything I knew. I don't know from where came the only words that entered my mouth as I said, the time has come for me. Definitely the time has come, said Sadhguru. So what shall we do now? I want to become a sannyasi, I promptly said. Then he asked me what I was doing and what was my family background, etc. After listening to my family situation, he questioned, who will take care of your parents then? I assured him that my elder brothers were by then doing well enough to take care of the family. Be there in December, he said, and a meeting concluded. It was July. For me, everything was over. Whatever I thought I was, I had left it at his feet. From that moment to this moment, as I write this, there is an unbounded bliss deep within me. On December 1st, 1997, I was in the ashram full time. I was initiated into Brahmacharya on the Mahashivratri of 1998. So many such incidents have happened in the last 20 years I've been here. Actually, what we do in the name of construction in Isha is conceived and designed by Sadhguru. In so many ways, it is executed by Sadhguru's grace. When we are in construction meetings with him, Sadhguru gives the details and 3D images of what he is speaking forms in my mind simultaneously. When making the drawings later, the dimensions and proportions he gives of the architectural features simply fit well. I feel privileged that I am useful in some small way in making Sadhguru's vision for the humanity happen. And by being here, what has happened within me is beyond my wildest imagination. Whenever I visualize Sadhguru's physical form within me, his bright and radiant face, I am filled with bliss, many times overflowing, anywhere and anytime. I don't know how it happens, but for me, Sadhguru is Shiva himself. Nothing less, nothing more.